I'll say this for Netflix's live-action Avatar. It makes me appreciate the original in a whole new light. It made me realize how incredibly efficient the original storytelling is. The reason that I and so many other internet nerds have been able to spend hours and hours and hours expounding on the values and philosophies found in Avatar is because practically every line is packed with deeper meaning. The creators were, after all, tasked with telling a complete, self contained story that advanced character arcs and connected to the larger plot, all in 22 minutes. You have to value every action and word of dialogue highly if you're going to be effective in such a short time frame. You don't have time to, say, explain at length the differences between positive, negative, and neutral Jing 2 different times, which is exactly what the adaptation does. Bumi and Aang cover the topic as they do in the original, and then Katara and Suki explain Jing to Sokka in the very next episode because you were probably on Reddit during that previous scene, and we really want to make sure you know what Jing are. This is but one example among many of how the live-action show refuses to pace itself properly. It rushes through story beats that should be more important, then indulges itself in nonsense that no one asked for or cares about. After the second episode of Netflix's show, we have had about 2 hours of runtime, or roughly 6 original chapters, and have reached what is essentially the end of the chase, the 8th chapter of Book 2, and have done the Serpent's Pass for good measure, so isn't the adaptation more efficient then? No, it is not. Book 2, Chapter 1, The Avatar State, reduced to a brief conversation between Sokka and Aang. Chapter 2, The Cave of Two Lovers. We already did that badly in Season 1. Chapter 3, Return to Amashu, again, reduced to a single conversation, this time between Aang and Bumi. Chapter 4, The Swamp, skipped entirely. Chapter 5, Avatar Day, skipped entirely, except for Zuko ditching Iroh, which is also done poorly and very much drawn out. Zuko is not supposed to be that spiteful, and it just doesn't work. Chapter 6, The Blind Bandit, mostly included, but we'll get to that mess later. Chapter 7, Zuko Alone, mostly included, albeit changed quite a bit. All in all, not too bad, but lacks the emotional weight of the original. Chapter 8, The Chase, skipped entirely except for the ending fight, and the 3 hunters finding some sky bison tracks and fur, which I don't know why they bothered with the fur since they have the footprints, but whatever. That is a lot of story that has suddenly vanished from this new narrative. What replaced it, you ask? Not a lot. Certainly nothing of equal value, nor anything remotely close. Would you like an extended conversation between Azula and a random general whom you've never met before about battle strategies and loyalty? No, you say. Who the heck is this guy? You ask, why would I care? You wonder. I'll tell you who this general is. He's the guy who is going to get buried alive carrying out Azula's plan to tunnel underneath the walls of Ba Sing Se using captured earthbenders. I haven't actually watched beyond the second episode yet, so I don't know if that's true, but that seriously is her plan, and I can't imagine she concocted it with any intention other than getting every firebender on that particular invasion force killed via suffocation and or being crushed by several tons of rock and earth after they idiotically chose to put their lives in the hands of captured enemies. But Netflix Azula's intelligence is not the topic of this particular video. That is just another example of the numerous ways this show finds to waste the viewer's time. We could also mention the Mechanist hitting on a fellow refugee, which I won't complain about too much because Danny Putty is a great actor, a rare sight in these parts, but felt wildly out of place and utterly unnecessary. Even conversations that actually had purpose and relevance tended to be dragged on longer than necessary. Zuko's chat with Song, for example, was a solid piece of dialogue that deepened her character, built the world more, and formed an essential piece of Zuko's redemption arc, as it helps open that door in the first place. But it was just too long. Maybe the writers got caught up in the moment and forgot that the story needed to keep moving, or maybe they have an edict from on high to drag things out so that viewers who are watching on a second screen or with phone in hand don't miss out on crucial plot and character points. I do genuinely believe that directive is to blame for a lot of the issues here. The fact that Netflix intentionally writes its shows to be consumable by people doing chores, working out, or doom scrolling is an open secret, if not an outright public policy. Naturally, when that is your goal, you are going to slow things down, repeat important information, and generally dumb the story down in an effort to make sure the lowest common denominator does not get lost. Is said policy entirely to blame? No, there is certainly a writing skill issue in play here as well.
I'm just a kid.
But you can't watch Netflix's version of Earth Rumble 6 and not tell me they weren't trying to drag out the most essential elements, and as a result, so much gets lost. For the record, I checked, and the 2 Earth Rumble 6 scenes are each appropriately about 6 minutes long. In the original, the gang takes their seats, watches the boulder vanquish numerous opponents in a display of gloriously muscular earthbending, gasps in awe as a little blind girl tosses him aside like he is in fact a pebble, then wins a heap of gold and a belt to match Sokka's bag after Aang's less than legal victory. In the adaptation, the gang arrives as the hippo. I'm sorry, that's supposed to be the boulder. Was this show written by someone who had seen Avatar once 20 years ago and is going entirely off that fuzzy memory? Anyway, the hippo boulder defeats one single opponent in utterly forgettable fashion before the blind bandit steps out to challenge him. And this is where the show wastes time. A lot of time. The encounter between the two in the animation, counting from right when they begin their verbal sparring till the boulder is knocked out of the ring, is 1 minute and 20 seconds. In the adaptation, it is 3 minutes and 20 seconds. We spend 2 whole extra minutes doing what exactly? I will give Netflix credit, they established Toph's character well in her introduction, mostly because they use lines straight out of the cartoon, and because her actress actually does a decent job with them. But oh my gosh, this fight is so slow. The earthbending isn't M. Night Shyamalan levels of slow, but it is uncomfortably close. Every move takes at least twice as long as it should, for no apparent reason. Okay, I guess one explanation for why Toph is kind of slow here is that she's fighting in a layer of sand, which would definitely hamper her, but they don't indicate that in any way, so I'm guessing the writers just forgot about that particular bit of bending lore entirely. The sand honestly isn't a huge deal in the grand scheme of criticisms, though, certainly not for this video. So in the interest of efficiency, let's make one final point regarding this scene. To again bring up the original, the actual fight between Toph and the boulder lasts 30 seconds. That's it. He steps. She feels it. Aang notices things, and then the boulder is pancaked against the wall. We spend 2/3 of that time, 20 seconds for those of you bad at math, simply waiting for Toph to emerge from the rock that the hippo boulder has dropped on her. We all know she's not dead. No one in the audience believes for a second that this little blind girl got killed off in her introductory scene. You could show this to someone who has never watched television before, and they would immediately recognize that Toph will in fact be fine. There is no suspense here, so stop making me wait. As far as criticisms go, this may seem like a minor one, but this drawn-out fight scene is indicative of a major flaw in Netflix's approach. They don't understand that so much of what made the original great was its ability to move quickly through meaningful story and character beats. Yes, that means the viewer will miss things, but guess what? He'll probably catch them next time, because there will be a next time if you actually bothered making a good story for the sake of making a good story, rather than just shuffling out content to fill someone's second monitor. I have many, many more thoughts about this show, and maybe things will turn around before the end. I have, as I said, only watched 2 episodes thus far, but I had to talk about this because Toph's introduction is an absolute masterclass of character work and pacing that Netflix almost replicated successfully, but ended up completely botching because what? Having Toph take out the hippo boulder in one move would make her look too cool? Anyway, I won't waste any more of your time with my nonsense, but if you'd like to voluntarily give it, you should join my book club where we read classic novels, philosophy, and a bit of history. We're just starting up in July with Crime and Punishment, and all tiers on Patreon get access to the book club through Discord, with Adventurer tier getting voting rights on future books, and Warrior tier and above getting access to a voice call at the end of each month. I hope you can join. Thanks for watching, God bless, and have a good one.